Let me ask you, what if you woke up tomorrow and the numbers were yours? What if the impossible, the improbable, was already accomplished, not in the future, but now? Would you dare to believe it? Would you dare to live tonight as though your fortune had already been won? Because I tell you, your fortune is not in the numbers. It is in your assumption. The great secret is not in chance, not in odds or logic. It lies in the unseen realm, the inner man, the imagination. For everything seen was once unseen. Every dollar, every ticket, every winning moment begins first as a thought, accepted as true. Do not wait for proof. Create the proof within. The only power that brings wealth, that brings success, that delivers the winning ticket, is the power of your own wonderful human imagination. To win, you must already have won. You must feel the thrill of wealth long before the numbers are ever drawn. The world, being a shadow, cannot resist the persistence of inner conviction. Feel it nightly, until the dream feels more real than the waking world. Say to yourself, I am a lottery winner. Not as wishful thinking, not as a hope, but as an identity. Not something to become, but something you already are. Enter into the state and dwell there. Fall asleep each night, clothed in the assumption of wealth. See the check in your hands, hear the congratulations, feel the weight of the financial freedom, and do not ask how it will come, for the bridge of incidents will carry you naturally to its fulfillment. You are the operant power. The moment you assume the state and persist in it, the outer world must conform. You are not begging the universe. You are commanding it by knowing who you are. Doubt not. The one who believes they are already in possession shall see it made flesh. Let your affirmations be felt, not just spoken. Let them drip with certainty. Let them be saturated with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The numbers are secondary. The real lottery is the inner conviction that you are already the winner. Let us begin with the simplest, yet the most profound truth. All that you behold, though it appears without, it was first imagined within. The house you live in, the clothes upon your back, the name you bear, none of it existed until it was first conceived by someone in the silent depths of consciousness. Nothing appears in the world unless it is first imagined. Imagination is not a weak, idle fancy. It is a spiritual faculty, the creative power itself. It is the reality from which all things flow. What the world calls reality is but the external shadow of an internal act of imagination. When you look at your life and see lack, limitation, or failure, it is only because in some way you have imagined it, either consciously or unconsciously, and sustained that image long enough for it to harden into fact. There is no power outside of this creative force within you. You do not beg a force to act on your behalf. You do not plead with an external deity to deliver you the winning ticket. You assume it, you imagine it, you become it. You dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled. You do not seek, you know. You do not question when it will come. You walk as though it already is. Now let us take this truth into the realm of wealth, abundance, and more specifically, the desire to win the lottery. Many will say, I want to win, I hope I will win, I wish for a miracle. But they do not understand the law. Hoping is not creating. Wishing is not claiming. Desire without assumption remains sterile. But when desire is fused with imagination, when you feel yourself already in possession of that which you seek, the seed is planted in the deep of consciousness, and the world must reflect it. You must imagine the end boldly. Close your eyes and see the numbers flash before you. Hear your voice announcing, I have won. Feel the energy shift within your body, not as a trick, not as a game, but as a living reality. For imagination, when it is vivid and saturated with feeling, is reality. That which you experience inwardly with intensity will eventually project itself outwardly into the circumstances of your life. Consider this. If you imagine yourself wealthy, truly wealthy, If you see it, feel it, breathe it, and walk in it, then the outer world is powerless to contradict it. It may resist for a moment. It may appear unchanged for a time, but persist in the assumption, and all things must bow to the image held within. This is not superstition. This is the law. The outer world cannot but conform to the inner conviction. The numbers, the ticket, the call, the news, all of these are mere messengers. They do not bring the wealth. They only report what you have already created in imagination. And so, when you imagine your win, do not simply see the ticket. See your life after the ticket. Walk through the home you now own. Hear the laughter of your family in joy. Touch the leather of the car you now drive. Feel the breeze from your ocean view window. Live there now. Do not wait for the world to confirm it. That is not faith. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. Use your imagination nightly as you drift into sleep. Enter the scene of your success. See your bank account with the winning amount. Hear the banker's voice congratulate you. Say to yourself, not with effort, but with quiet knowing, I have won. Let this feeling flood your being. Let sleep carry this assumption into the depths of your subconscious, where all creation begins. You may ask, is it really this simple? And the answer is, it is not only simple, it is the only way anything is ever created. The entire universe is imagination pushed out. What you accept as true and consistently dwell upon becomes the structure of your world. You are always imagining. The only question is, are you imagining wisely? Stop looking for signs. Signs follow. They never precede. Do not wait for the world to give you permission. Assume the feeling of wealth now. The world will catch up. All that you desire is already yours in the invisible. It awaits only your claim, not by effort, not by struggle, but by imagination. The great key is inner movement. Can you inwardly move into the state of being wealthy? Can you inwardly inhabit the space of the lottery winner? Can you remain there, unshaken by the evidence of the senses? If so, then you have mastered the creative power. You have aligned with the truth that all things spring from within. You are not separate from the prize, you are one with it. The lottery is not something to chase, it is something to become. Become it in feeling, and the outer must deliver it in form. The numbers, the call, the win, they are the out-picturing of a state accepted as real. So I say, go within and imagine boldly. Let your inner world be more real than the facts before you, for when the inner becomes fixed, the outer must conform. Imagination creates reality, always. Let yours be guided by desire, directed by faith, and filled with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Then, and only then, shall you see it made flesh. To live in the end is to step out of time and into truth. It is to abandon the appearance of things and occupy the reality of what you desire as though it were already yours. This is not mere fantasy. This is not pretending. This is creation at its highest level. The one who lives in the end is not bound by circumstance, not limited by delay, not swayed by doubt, for he knows that the end imagined is the end created. Everything begins with a state of consciousness. You are always in a state. The question is, what state are you living from? Are you living from the state of desire, which only acknowledges that you do not yet have the thing? Or are you living from the state of fulfillment, where the desire is no longer a desire, but a fact? Desire, when not claimed, becomes longing. Longing strengthens separation. But when you live, in the end the longing disappears, because the end is now. To live in the end is to fuse with the desire, until there is no space between you and it. You do not look toward the dream, you look from it. Let us speak clearly. To live in the end means to see the world as you would see it, were your desire already fulfilled. Not hoping it will happen, not asking when, but walking through the moments of life with the quiet confidence that it is done. It is done. not because the world has shown it, but because consciousness has accepted it. You must become blind to the facts and awake to the truth. The facts may scream lack, they may whisper failure, they may echo limitation, but truth speaks one thing only. What you imagine and accept as real must become your world. If you are willing to ignore the senses and persist in the unseen end, the senses will eventually bow and display it in form. This is not delusion, it is discipline. It is the discipline of living as though you already are what you wish to be. If you desire wealth, you must not see yourself as someone who will be wealthy. You must see yourself as one who is. The feeling must become natural. You must dwell there so completely that even if your bank account says otherwise, you are unmoved. The world is only a mirror. It cannot reflect until the image is fixed within. To live in the end is to assume the tone of already having. You do not need to figure out the steps. You are not the architect of the bridge of incidents. Your only task is to claim the end and abide in it. From that point, life will rearrange itself. People will be moved. Situations will shift. Events will unfold, not because you force them to, but because you are aligned with the outcome. It is important to understand nothing is created when it appears in your world. It is only revealed. Creation is finished. Every possibility already exists. You are not bringing something new into being. You are selecting, by your assumption, which part of reality you will experience. And the only way to shift from one state to another is to live as though the chosen state is already yours. There is no power in partial belief. If you still look around to see if it's working, you are not yet in the end. If you still ask, when will it come, you are not living in it. When you are truly in the end, there is no need to check, no desire to ask. There is only calm knowing. There is only rest. Practice this tonight. Whatever your desire, be it wealth, love, health, or success, do not visualize the process. Visualize the result. Hear what you would hear, were it true. See what you would see. Feel what you would feel. Let that scene be your dwelling place. Not a visit, a home. Go there and live. Let your inner conversations change. Speak not as one who hopes, but as one who already has. Think not of the obstacles, but of the freedom. Let your imagination be the proof. If you can see it clearly and feel it deeply, then it is already real, in the only realm that matters. The world must follow. It has no choice. To live in the end is to understand that the journey is internal. The outer movement is merely a reflection of the inner shift. The change must occur first in consciousness. Do not wait for the evidence. Be the evidence. Assume the identity, and the life that matches it must emerge. There are no exceptions. No desire is too great, no vision too far. The only question is whether you are willing to die to the old state and fully embrace the new. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot continue to identify as the person who lacks and expect to receive the life of abundance. You must choose now. Will you live from desire or from fulfillment? If you persist in the end long enough, it will become the only natural state. And once it feels natural, it must express. The world cannot hold back what is already alive in consciousness. So tonight, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Enter into the end and live there, and do not waver. The end is the beginning, and the end is certain, for you become what you accept as true. Feeling is the one and only medium through which your desires are impressed upon the subconscious. It is not words, nor repetition, nor even vivid imagery alone. It is the feeling attached to those words and images that gives them life. Without feeling, there is no creative power. Without the emotional acceptance of a thing as true, the subconscious remains unmoved, and the outer world unchanged. There are two worlds, the seen and the unseen, the world of form and the world of assumption. Between the two stands feeling, the bridge, the passage, the sacred doorway, for it is only through feeling that the invisible becomes visible. You may imagine all day long, and you may speak affirmations until your voice is weary, But if the feeling is not there, the impression is weak and the result is delayed. The subconscious is impersonal. It does not judge or question. It accepts that which is impressed upon it with conviction and feeling, and it faithfully reproduces it in your outer world. Just as soil does not question the seed but gives back what is planted, the subconscious returns to you what is impressed upon it, especially that which is impressed with deep emotion. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. What you feel as true becomes true for you. If you feel lack, the world must reflect lack. If you feel unworthy, the world will confirm your unworthiness. But if you feel abundance, if you feel joy, if you feel wealth as though it were already yours, then the world must mirror it. It has no choice. This is why your assumption must not be dry. It must not be mechanical. It must be alive. It must drip with conviction. It must burn with the intensity of truth. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not playing a game of pretense. You are creating. You are commanding the unseen to shape itself into form. And it will. For feeling never fails. Ask yourself this: what would you feel if your desire were now fulfilled? Not what would you say or what would you see, but what would you feel deep within your being? Would you feel relief? Would you feel pride? Would you feel freedom, security, gratitude? Whatever that feeling is, it must be claimed now. It must be felt now, and it must be dwelled in until it becomes the only natural state. Feeling must be fused with imagination. Thought alone is not enough. You can think of success while feeling fear, and the fear will win. You can imagine abundance while feeling lack, and lack will persist. But when you feel abundance as though it is present, you are shifting the entire structure of your reality. This is why the quiet moments before sleep are so powerful. In that drowsy state, the critical mind is silenced and the subconscious is wide open. It is then that you must feel the truth of your desire, not as something to come, but as something already given. As you sink in to rest, carry with you the mood of fulfillment. Let your final thoughts of the day be steeped in the feeling of wealth, or love, or health, whatever it is you seek. For what you feel as you fall asleep will be carried deep into the subconscious and outpictured in your world. You may say, but I do not know how to feel it. I cannot summon the feeling. And the answer is, imagine a scene that would imply the desire is fulfilled and let yourself be moved by it. If you wish to manifest a lottery win, imagine the phone call from the lottery office. Hear the voice, feel your heart race, sense the joy in your chest, or picture yourself holding the winning ticket and showing it to your loved ones. Let their reaction stir something within you. Let the emotion rise, not from effort, but from immersion. You are not trying to manipulate matter, you are mastering consciousness. You are learning to feel truth before it appears. This is the path of creation. Do not seek feelings in the world, create them within. The outer world will reflect what you maintain inwardly. Understand this: your feeling is always speaking to the subconscious. In every moment, you are planting seeds. You may think you are being passive, but your feelings are active. You may believe you are doing nothing, yet your emotions are creating constantly. To feel lack is to feed lack. To feel delay is to give life to delay. But to feel success is to plant success. To feel prosperity is to summon the very channels through which prosperity flows. Let your inner world be governed by deliberate feeling. Ask not whether your desire is possible. Feel that it is already so. Feel it not with strain, but with surrender. Let it become real to you. Let it become more familiar than the facts. The feeling must be dominant. You must nurture it, protect it, and return to it again and again until it becomes your resting place. Feeling is the secret power that shapes your destiny. It is not external force, nor willpower, nor chance that decides the outcome of your life. It is the state you inhabit inwardly and the feelings you dwell in that determine everything you experience. Change the feeling, and you change the fate. Persistence is the key to all creation. It is not the fleeting moments of inspiration or the bursts of enthusiasm that bring your desires into being. It is the steady, unwavering belief that the end you have imagined is already yours. This belief held firmly is what ultimately manifests. For the law is impersonal, and it responds not to momentary passion, but to sustained conviction. It is the persistent assumption of the wish fulfilled that shapes your outer world. When you desire something, whether wealth, love, health, or success, you must begin by assuming the end. But to bring that assumption into being, it is not enough to simply imagine it once or to feel it once. You must live in the end continuously. This is where persistence plays its role. Just as a seed needs time and care to grow, so too does your desire need consistent attention and nurturing in the realm of consciousness. Every thought, every feeling, every belief you hold about yourself and your world is creating your reality. But in the process of creation, it is not enough to merely believe once. A momentary shift in belief will not turn your world around. No, it is the continuation of that belief, the consistent persistence in holding that belief, which ultimately bends the world to your will. Many will attempt to create something new in their lives, and they will make the mistake of expecting instant results. When nothing happens immediately, they begin to question the process. Did I do it right? Why hasn't it shown up yet? Maybe this doesn't work for me. But the universe does not respond to doubt. It responds to faith. And faith, by its very nature, requires persistence. You must be willing to remain in the assumption of the end, no matter how long it takes for it to appear. Persistence is not about forcing the world to conform. It is about aligning with the end result so completely that no contradiction can remain. The outer world, which we perceive through our senses, is not the cause of what we experience. The cause is always within. When you persist in assuming the wish fulfilled, you are impressing this assumption upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It does not reject what is planted there, but accepts it fully and begins the process of bringing it into form. However, just as a seed does not bear fruit overnight, the desires you plant in your subconscious need time to come into bloom, and that time is determined by your persistence. When you persist in your assumption, you may not always see immediate changes in the outer world. In fact, things may appear to get worse before they get better. But this is where persistence is truly tested. When external evidence contradicts your inner assumption, will you remain steadfast or will you waver? This is the crucial moment, the defining point in your creation. To persist is to trust in the unseen. It is to stand firm on the knowing that your assumption is already a reality, even though the world has not yet caught up. This is where many falter. They look to the outside world for proof of their inner assumption. But the world will never show you the end until you have persistently lived in it within. The outer world is simply a mirror, reflecting your inner state. If you waver, if you doubt, if you shift your assumption from the wish fulfilled back to the state of desire, you reinforce the appearance of lack. But if you persist, if you continue to feel the reality of the end you desire, regardless of the evidence, the world will reflect that inner state. To persist is to trust the process of creation. The world will not instantly conform to your desires, simply because you have imagined them once or twice. No. Creation is a gradual unfolding. It requires time, not because the universe is slow, but because your consciousness is gradually aligning with the outcome. The world will change, but it must first change within you. You must also understand that persistence is not about forcing or striving. It is not about the struggle of trying to make something happen. It is about the gentle, unwavering knowing that the end is already done. Your persistent assumption is not an effort. It is a natural state of being. You do not need to work hard to bring your desires to fruition. You simply need to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled. When you live from this state, the world will bend itself to your belief. Persistence is also about returning to the state of the wish fulfilled over and over again, especially when external conditions seem contrary. It is in the face of adversity, in the face of apparent failure, that your persistence is most powerful. In these moments, you must double down on your assumption. Remind yourself of the end. Feel the joy of the fulfilled desire, even when there is no external evidence to support it. Your persistence, your ability to stand firm, is what will ultimately break through the outer resistance and bring your desire into the world of form. The act of persistence itself strengthens your faith. Every time you return to the assumption of the end, you are reinforcing your belief in its reality. The more you persist, the more real the desire becomes to you, and as it becomes more real to you, it must eventually become real in your outer world. You must, therefore, be relentless in your assumption. The desire is already yours. It is only a matter of time before the outer world catches up with your inner reality. And so, you must hold on to this inner reality with unwavering conviction. Your persistence will carry you through, and in time the outer world will reflect what you have already created within. This is the true nature of creation, not the act of wishing, but the act of assuming, and then persistently dwelling in that assumption until the world bends to reflect your inner state. The power of persistence is not in struggling to make things happen, but in consistently living as though they already have. The world will catch up. It always does. Assumption is the key that unlocks all doors of creation. What you assume to be true about yourself and your life becomes your reality, whether you consciously choose it or not. The power of assumption is not a passive tool. It is a deliberate, forceful, creative act that shapes your destiny. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption, the world must rearrange itself to align with your belief. Every moment you are assuming something. You are assuming the nature of your world, the state of your health, your financial condition, your relationships, your place in life. The question is not whether you are assuming, but what you are assuming. It is often said that what you believe shapes your world, and that is absolutely true. But belief is rooted in assumption. It is what you assume to be true that creates your life. The most powerful assumption you can make is that what you desire is already yours, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. And when you assume this, you are not just wishing for it, you are stepping into it as a fact. Assumption is the unseen force that governs your life. It is not an intellectual exercise or a mental trick. It is the acceptance of a certain state of being, the full embodiment of the wish fulfilled. Assumption is not simply thinking, I want this, or I hope this happens. No, assumption is the state of mind that knows it is done. It is the complete surrender to the feeling of having already received your desire. When you assume something, you accept it as a reality within yourself. The power lies in the fact that this assumption is being impressed upon your subconscious mind, which in turn influences your outer world. The subconscious mind is not concerned with whether your assumption is true in the physical world. It only reacts to what you impress upon it. And once it accepts your assumption as fact, it must express that assumption in your world. This is the law. The power of assumption works through your imagination. Whatever you imagine with conviction, whatever you vividly picture in your mind, must eventually materialize in your life. The key is to assume that the imagined scenario is not a distant future event, but a present reality. You must feel, think, and act from the perspective of the person who already has what they desire. If you desire financial abundance, assume the state of one who is already wealthy. Walk, talk, think, and feel as the wealthy person would. If you wish to manifest love, assume the state of one who is already loved and cherished. Act from that place of fullness, and the external world will shift to match it. The problem most people face is that they do not persist in their assumptions. They assume briefly, but when the outer world does not immediately conform, they fall back into doubt and frustration. The power of assumption does not work on a short-term basis. It requires persistent belief, sustained imagination, and constant alignment with the assumed end. You cannot afford to doubt the assumption, even in the face of contradictory evidence. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the outer world must eventually reflect it. but only when your assumption has fully impregnated the subconscious mind. The power of assumption is not about waiting for something to happen. It is about being so certain of your assumption that you no longer feel the need to wait. You do not look at the outer world to verify whether your assumption is true. You assume the end result, and in assuming it, you embody it. Your conviction in your assumption becomes your reality. This is why the assumption must be strong and clear. If your assumption is wavering, then the power you bring to it is diluted, and the world will respond in kind. The strength of your assumption is directly related to the consistency and intensity of your belief. If you assume that you are already wealthy, if you truly believe it and feel it, the world must reflect that assumption, regardless of the current state of your bank account. If you assume that you are already healthy, even though the body may feel weak, your assumption will eventually override the body's current condition. The body must follow the lead of the mind, and the mind will move only when your assumption is strong and unwavering. What you assume in the silence of your thoughts and feelings is far more important than what you speak aloud. Words have power, but the deep assumptions you hold about yourself and your world are what really shape your life. Many people speak words of affirmation, but their assumptions do not align with those words. They may say, "I am rich," but their assumption is that they are not. They may say, "I am loved," but their assumption is that they are alone. The true power lies in the subconscious assumption, which works quietly and effortlessly behind the scenes. It is also important to note that assumption works in all areas of life. It is not limited to wealth or success. It applies to every desire, every goal, every change you wish to make. If you desire peace, assume the state of peace. If you desire a harmonious relationship, assume that you already have it. Assume the fulfillment of every desire, and the power of assumption will bring it into manifestation. The law works for everyone, regardless of who they are or what they desire. It works because it is impersonal, it does not judge, and it is not selective. The only thing that determines whether your assumptions will become reality is your ability to assume, to persist in that assumption, and to believe in it without wavering. When you truly understand the power of assumption, you realize that nothing is outside your control. Your desires are already yours, waiting to be expressed through the simple act of assuming their fulfillment. The power is not in the outer world, but in the inner world of assumption. Once you master this, the world will have no choice but to reflect your assumptions back to you perfectly and faithfully. Imagination is the supreme tool for creation. The world as you know it was created first in the mind, in the realm of imagination, before it ever took physical form. Everything that exists in the external world, everything you see around you, was first imagined by someone. Imagination is not just a whimsical fantasy or a playful activity. It is the actual force through which reality is shaped. To understand the power of imagination is to understand the very process of creation itself. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. When you vividly imagine something, when you feel the emotion attached to that imagined scene, your subconscious accepts it as real. This is the key to understanding how imagination works. It is not about imagining something and waiting for it to manifest in the future. It is about imagining it and fully living in it as though it is happening right now. The more real you can make your imagination feel, the more the subconscious mind will accept it as fact. And once it is accepted as fact, it must be expressed in the external world. When you truly understand this, you realize that nothing in the world is beyond your imagination. Every desire, every dream, and every vision you hold in your mind is within your grasp. The only requirement is that you imagine it with conviction and live in that imagined reality with persistence and faith. Your imagination is not limited by the constraints of the physical world. It is a free and boundless tool that can take you beyond the boundaries of your current circumstances. Your imagination has the power to create the life you desire, if you are willing to trust it fully. The act of imagination is a creative act, but it requires more than just mental pictures. It requires you to feel the reality of what you are imagining. Imagination alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by the feeling of fulfillment. the emotion of already having what you desire. When you imagine something and feel the emotion that would arise from its fulfillment, you are impressing your subconscious mind with that feeling. The subconscious then takes that feeling and begins the process of turning it into form, whether in the material world, in relationships, in health, or in any area of life. Think about it for a moment. When you imagine yourself as successful, what feelings arise? Do you feel joy, pride, excitement? When you imagine yourself as healthy, how does that make you feel? Do you feel vitality, energy, or freedom? Whatever the feeling is, it must be anchored in the imagination. This is why imagination is so powerful. It allows you to live in the end result, to feel as though your desire has already been fulfilled. The more vividly and emotionally you can imagine your desired reality, the more it will impress your subconscious mind, and the quicker it will be brought into the material world. This is why your imagination is so much more than just daydreaming. It is the active, creative process of bringing the unseen into being. You are not imagining just for the sake of entertainment or escape. You are imagining in order to create. You are using the power of your mind to shape the physical world. It is important to recognize that when you imagine, you are not just passively waiting for something to happen, you are actively creating it. You are taking the raw material of your thoughts, your feelings, and your desires, and you are shaping them into reality. Imagination is the gateway to the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not question what is imagined, whether it is based on current circumstances or not. It simply accepts whatever is presented to it with feeling and emotion. That's why it is so important to vividly imagine your desires with feeling, as though they are already true. When you do this, the subconscious accepts it as reality, and it begins to move you, guide you, and bring people, circumstances, and opportunities into your life that align with that imagined reality. It is also important to recognize that the imagination works in both positive and negative directions. If you imagine fear, lack, or failure, you are impressing those states upon your subconscious mind, and because the subconscious works without judgment, it will faithfully bring about the conditions you are imagining, whether they are positive or negative. This is why it is essential to use your imagination consciously and deliberately. Rather than imagining problems or struggles, imagine solutions and success. Rather than imagining scarcity, imagine abundance. The more you can shift your focus to imagining the fulfillment of your desires, the more quickly you will see those desires take shape in the external world. The power of imagination is not confined to the mind alone. It extends to every aspect of your being. When you imagine your desires, you must feel them with your entire body. You must allow your emotions to fully engage with the images in your mind. When you do this, your entire being becomes aligned with the reality you are imagining. And this alignment is what activates the creative power of your subconscious mind. Your imagination, combined with a feeling of fulfillment, sends a powerful signal to the universe, signaling that you are ready to receive what you have imagined. Imagination is the first step in the process of manifestation. It is the seed, and feeling is the soil that nourishes it. Without imagination, there is nothing to manifest. Without the vivid pictures in your mind, there is no seed to plant. But when you imagine clearly and with emotion, you create the conditions for manifestation. The external world will follow the lead of your inner world, and what you have imagined and felt as true will begin to show up in your life. The world is not limited by the five senses. It is only limited by your imagination. Your mind is a powerful creator, and when you align your imagination with your desires, you can shape your life in any way you wish. Imagination creates reality because it is the first step in the process of manifestation. It is the invisible force that shapes the visible. Your life is created from the inside out, and it all begins with the power of imagination. Living, in the end, is the key to transforming your life. It is not enough to simply wish for something or desire it. You must live as though the desire has already been fulfilled. Most people fail to realize that the secret to manifestation lies in this very act, living in the end. The law of creation does not work through striving, effort, or continuous wishing. It works through the assumption that your desire is already realized, and living in that assumption brings your reality into alignment with your inner world. Living in the end means that you no longer place your happiness, your fulfillment, or your success in a distant future. You stop seeing your desire as something to be attained at some unknown time, and instead you live as if it has already been accomplished. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you begin to radiate that state of being into the world. You do not wait for the outer world to reflect your desire before you begin to feel it. No. You feel it first, and then the outer world conforms to that inner state. This is the essence of living in the end. Aligning yourself with a fulfilled state, not as a future event, but as a present fact. The law of attraction, manifestation, or creation works by means of the state you embody. If you embody the state of someone who has already achieved their desires, the world must reflect that state back to you. So, living in the end means you do not worry about the how or when. You simply align yourself with the feeling of already having what you want. You stop waiting for the world to change before you change your internal state. You take the inner lead first, and the outer world must follow. This does not mean that you should ignore the external circumstances or pretend they do not exist. Living in the end is not about denying reality. It is about shifting your focus to the truth that your desire has already been realized, regardless of external appearances. The outer world is a reflection of your inner assumptions. And so, when you live as though your desire is already fulfilled, you change the internal pattern that is causing the outer world to remain in its current state. Imagine for a moment that you have already achieved the thing you desire. How would you feel? How would you think? How would you behave? You must embody this state completely. This is what living in the end entails. If you are seeking wealth, you must live as though you already have all the money you need. Feel the sense of financial freedom and security now. If you desire a loving relationship, feel the joy and connection of being in that relationship now. Do not wait for the physical manifestation to occur before you embrace the feelings of fulfillment. When you begin to live in the end, you begin to operate from a place of certainty and completeness rather than longing and lack. The key to living in the end is to enter into the mental state of the wish fulfilled and remain there. It is not enough to visit this state once or twice and then return to doubt or worry. You must persist in the assumption that your desire is already true. You must continue to walk, talk, and think as if you are already the person who has achieved what you desire. When you live in the end, you create an energetic alignment with the fulfilled state that draws the outer world into congruence with your inner world. Living in the end is an act of faith and trust. It requires you to believe that the desire is already yours, even when there is no external evidence to support it. This is where most people fail. They look at their current circumstances and assume that those circumstances define their reality. But your circumstances do not determine your future. Your assumptions do. When you live in the end, you ignore the present reality and focus instead on the reality of your desire already fulfilled. One of the most important aspects of living in the end is persistence. It is not enough to assume the end once and then abandon it when things do not immediately change. The world will not shift simply because you had a passing thought. You must remain in the end, even when external evidence contradicts your assumption. When you do this, you are impressing the subconscious mind with the assumption of the wish fulfilled. The subconscious does not care what the outer world looks like. It only responds to the inner state you create, and will bring forth circumstances that match that state. Living in the end also requires you to embrace the present moment. Many people spend their time wishing for the future or regretting the past, but neither of those states of mind bring them closer to their desires. When you live in the end, you embrace the present moment as the only moment that matters. The future is already here. It is already complete in your mind. There is no time gap between your assumption and its manifestation, for the only time that truly exists is the present moment. The more you live in the end and feel the reality of your fulfilled desire, the sooner it will manifest in the physical world. To live in the end is to be the master of your own state of being. It is to refuse to be at the mercy of external circumstances and instead to create your reality from within. The external world is a reflection of your inner world, and so when you live in the end, you are essentially telling the world, "This is how I choose to live, and this is how I choose to feel." The world must then respond by reflecting your inner state back to you, and the desire you have assumed will take form. Living in the end is also an exercise in detachment. While you live in the state of the wish fulfilled, you do not attach yourself to the outcome. You do not become obsessed with when or how your desire will manifest. You simply assume that it is done, and you live in the knowing that it must come to pass. This is a powerful act of surrender, the surrender of control over how the desire will unfold. When you detach from the outcome and trust the process, you allow the universe to bring you what you want in the most natural and harmonious way. The more you live in the end, the more real it becomes. The more real it becomes, the more it begins to show up in your world. And the more it shows up in your world, the more you are reminded of the power you hold within yourself to create your reality. The feeling is the secret. It is not enough to simply think about what you desire or to envision it in your mind. The true key to manifestation lies in the feelings you associate with your desire. Whatever you feel to be true becomes true in your world. The power of feeling is what transforms your thoughts and desires into tangible experiences. Feeling is the energy that gives life to your imagination and the driving force behind all creation. The universe responds not just to your thoughts, but to the feelings that those thoughts generate. When you think about your desire, it is the feeling that you attach to that thought that activates the creative power within you. Your thoughts alone cannot create your reality. It is the feeling that accompanies those thoughts that does the work. Feeling is the bridge between thought and manifestation, and it is through feeling that the subconscious mind accepts your desires as real. When the subconscious mind accepts the feeling of the wish fulfilled, it must express that desire in the world around you. To truly manifest anything, you must live in the feeling of already having it. This means that you do not wait for external circumstances to change before you begin to feel the fulfillment of your desire. You must feel the emotion of already having what you want as if it has already been given to you. If you desire financial abundance, you must feel the joy and freedom of having wealth now. If you desire health, you must feel the vitality and strength of being healthy now. The more vividly you can embody these feelings, the more powerful your manifestation becomes. This is why many people struggle with manifesting their desires. They focus on the thoughts without fully embodying the feeling of having already received their desires. They may affirm that they are wealthy or that they are healthy, but if they do not truly feel these things, the words are just empty sounds. To create change in your life, you must move beyond mere affirmations and truly feel the reality of your desire. Feeling is the language of the subconscious, and it is through this language that your desires are communicated to the creative forces of the universe. Your emotions are the energetic signatures that shape your reality. Every emotion you feel sends out a signal to the universe, and the universe responds by bringing you experiences that match that signal. If you constantly feel lack, fear, or anxiety, those feelings are being sent out into the universe, and the universe will reflect back more situations that evoke those feelings. On the other hand, when you consistently feel abundance, love, joy, and peace, the universe will mirror those emotions back to you in the form of circumstances, people, and experiences that align with your positive state of being. The importance of feeling cannot be overstated. Feeling is the foundation of the creative process. Without feeling, your desires remain just ideas in your mind. It is through the feeling of the wish fulfilled that your desires begin to take form in your world. The more intense and real the feeling, the faster it will manifest. You must, therefore, become an expert in cultivating the right feelings for the things you desire. This is not about pretending to feel something you do not feel. It is about truly embodying the emotional state of having already received what you want. When you feel the emotion of having your desire, your entire being aligns with that frequency. Your body, mind, and spirit all move in harmony with the energy of your wish fulfilled, and this alignment is what triggers the manifestation process. The universe does not respond to idle thoughts or surface-level affirmations. It responds to the deep, resonant feeling that your desire is already complete. This is why it is so crucial to focus on the feeling rather than the outer circumstances. You can practice the art of feeling by first imagining the fulfillment of your desire. See yourself in the situation you want to create, and allow yourself to fully feel the emotions that arise. How do you feel when you imagine yourself as successful, wealthy, loved, or healthy? What emotions arise within you? Allow yourself to fully experience those emotions and stay in them for as long as you can. As you do this, you are impressing your subconscious mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and the subconscious will begin to work to bring that feeling into reality. Feeling is also the key to remaining in a state of faith. Faith is not about hoping for something or wishing for it. It is about feeling as though it is already yours. When you feel the fulfillment of your desire, you are expressing faith in the process of manifestation. You are not waiting for something to happen in the future. You are already living in the reality of your desire, and in doing so, you bring it into being. Faith is the belief in the unseen, but it is also the feeling of the unseen as if it is already here. The more deeply you feel your desire as fulfilled, the stronger your faith becomes, and the quicker your desire manifests. It is important to recognize that feeling is not an isolated experience. It is connected to every aspect of your being. Your thoughts, actions, and even your physical sensations are influenced by the feelings you cultivate. When you feel a certain way, your thoughts align with that feeling, your actions follow suit, and your body responds to the energy you are emitting. For example, when you feel confident and abundant, your thoughts turn toward opportunities, your actions become decisive and clear, and your body radiates energy and vitality. When you feel scarcity or fear, your thoughts turn toward problems, your actions become hesitant, and your body may become tense or sluggish. The feeling you cultivate is the driving force behind your entire experience. It is the energy that propels your desires into physical manifestation. Without the power of feeling, your desires remain nothing more than abstract thoughts in your mind. But when you combine the power of your thoughts with the energy of your feelings, you create a magnetic force that attracts your desires into your life. The universe has no choice but to respond to the energy you emit, and the more you focus on feeling the reality of your desires, the more rapidly they will come to you. To change your reality, you must first change the way you feel. You must begin to cultivate the emotions of already having what you desire, and as you do this, the world around you will shift to reflect those feelings. Feeling is the secret to unlocking the full creative power within you, and it is through feeling that your desires are born into the world. As we have explored, the journey of manifestation is not one of mere wishful thinking or waiting for external circumstances to align. It is a deliberate and conscious process of aligning your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs with the reality you wish to create. The true secret lies not in seeking to control the external world, but in mastering the internal world, the world of your imagination, feelings, and assumptions. By recognizing the immense power of your imagination, the importance of living in the end, the depth of feeling, and the consistent application of these principles, you can begin to shape your reality in ways that reflect your deepest desires. When you understand that everything starts within you, you empower yourself to create your own life. The external world is simply a mirror reflecting your inner state, and when you change the state of your mind and emotions, the world around you will change in kind. The law of attraction, the power of manifestation, and the art of creation are all rooted in one universal truth. You must feel the reality of your desires as if they are already yours. The more you do this, the more you will notice how your life begins to shift, aligning with the thoughts, feelings, and assumptions you have planted in your mind. Remember, imagination creates reality. Your thoughts and feelings have the power to shape the course of your life, and by living in the assumption that your desires are already fulfilled, you are actively participating in the creation of your reality. With each passing day, as you continue to embody the feeling of having already received your desires, you are gradually and inevitably drawing them closer to you. So, embrace the power within you. Know that you are the creator of your world, and every step you take in aligning your inner state with the fulfillment of your desires brings you closer to manifesting the life you've always dreamed of. Your thoughts, feelings, and imagination are your greatest tools. Use them wisely, persistently, and with conviction, and watch as your desires unfold before your very eyes. The reality you seek is already within you, and it is only a matter of time before it manifests in the world around you